Sa bukod, tingnan ba na kasalanan ng video?
Media educators and learners called to become press freedom.
Sa bukod, tingnan ba na kasalanan ng video?
Media educators and learners called to become press freedom.
In the last 5 years, there has been a surge of trends promoting the so-called green or sustainable lifestyle by, for example, eating organic produce or using recyclable goods. The women behind Echostore, short for Environment and Community Hope Organization, the first concept store of its kind, have been promoting and practicing the so-called green lifestyle before it even became a trend. In fact, Echostore promotes sustainable lifestyles, practicing conscious and caring consumerism through fair trade and supporting locavorism, helping small communities and entrepreneurs while bringing quality products to its customers. Echostore is not just a store that sells organic produce and products. It also provides services that seek to nurture the body, mind, and spirit through its other initiatives. Eco Cafe, Eco Market, Eco Farms, Eco Yoga, and the Eco Sea Foundation. An intense passion shared by 3 friends has become a successful social enterprise that has spread globally, reaching countries such as Hong Kong, Singapore, and the United States. Good evening. You're watching News Cafe on the Solar News Channel. I'm Mitzi Borromeo. Tonight, as a continuation of our celebration of Women's Month, we have with us the women behind Echostore, short for Environment and Community Hope Organization Store. Please welcome Jeannie Havelosa, Regina Rina Francisco, and Pasita Chietuan. Good evening, ladies. Thank you for being here. I remember the day it opened, actually, the day Echostore opened, 2008.
2008.
Yes. And it's come a long way since then.
That's right.
It's interesting how you came up with this concept. You actually worked off of 3 philosophies for you are the Eco Trio. Jeannie, can you tell us how that came about?
Well, it became, the first thing was a vision. We wanted to be able to do something that nobody was really doing, and that was to be able to help communities. We wanted a store that would allow us to be able to grow old gracefully and enjoy it. And because we were 3 women, we decided we wanted to be able to have certain guidelines. So we thought we'd focus on the self, the community, and the planet around everything we were doing for this store. So we began with the idea of the spiral, because the spiral brings us to new different experiences, right, in life. And we thought the sustainable lifestyle would be something interesting to live by.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are these, the 3 sectors that you are catering to? So along with you talked about the 3 principles, but you also have 3 sectors. Yeah. So which is reflected in the Eco Store, then you have your Eco Farm.
So we have the Eco Store, and then we have the Eco Cafe,
yes,
and the Eco Market. And to better explain what we espouse, whatever you see in the market, you can actually taste, because Rina did the recipes of Eco Cafe based on what we sell in the store and the market.
Right.
So it's really like farm to table or farm to fork, if you will.
So it's educating also the consumers on what you eat, what you use. Because your store carries everything from beauty products, home cleaning products. You were actually the first store to come about at the time, 2008. We would see handicrafts or even organic goods only in bazaars. How did you decide to put this together, and why? Was it something you were passionate
Well, the story was when we were conceptualizing the store, I also told them that, you know, when we go and buy coffee around the country, it's a once-a-year crop. So in between harvests, the women and the men would do things like weaving, baskets, etc., but they had no place to sell it. So we thought that it would be good to get them to market access. And the best way is to open the store for them to be able to consign these goods or sell these goods to us, and so that they can get markets that otherwise they would not have access to.
Right. And how do you choose these goods? Because we have so many farmers, so many goods out there. How do you curate these goods?
Well, I'll leave it to the 2. Jeannie for the culture and Rina for the sellability, if you will.
Yes.
Rina?
Well, what happened was we started to meet different people. First with coffee, because we in our past life we
Yes.
were into coffee. So as we were buying coffee in different places, we also saw other products that were, it was available. Why is it not being available to us in the city? So we thought we could start there. So we started, and Chit was also a member of different organizations who work with all these communities. So she introduced us to them, and left us. And Gina and I started
busy.
to meet with them and find out what other products do you have? What you're helping communities? How can we help them? Give them market access, and that's how we found our initial selection of products. They brought it to us, and Ginny said,
And the challenge was, my God, this looks really bad. I'm the bad guy for
the
the
packaging.
art
Yeah.
design. I'm a
And you're
curator.
You're an artist also.
And a curator,
I
you know.
had to tell them, hey, ladies, these are NGOs. They
Don't
have
be
not
too
had-
harsh.
Yeah, I said,
But we didn't
but
stop,
shit, we can't sell it.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
what we did was we thought we have to teach them.
Well, this is what
and
you
that's
do.
when we started rolling out some kind of a program, very informal, and they would invite
the Eco
us.
Design Lab.
It was called the
Yes.
Eco Design
Yeah.
Lab then. And so we started moving around the country for a whole year, which allowed us to get a good grasp of what was available around the country. And because Rina and I are both artists and we're coming from a sense of culture, and Chit's
Right.
network on the ground actually opened everything to us, it was a very good mix of being able to say, this is something uniquely ours.
Yes.
How can we now bring it to allow this product to be enjoyed with a sense of Philippine pride
Right.
for a normal lifestyle use,
Right.
no, the functionality. So that's how we began to develop the design lab, which was both the food and the non-food.
because what we
yeah.
realized was that all the communities were producing things that they're used to producing, not what the market wanted. So
Yes.
what we did was we realigned what they did. What do the market want from them?
And I think, Rina, also a lot of it was because those very small producers would have no market feedback. They just
Right.
do and do and do what they want to do until finally, who's going to buy what you like when this is what the market is about? And we started to teach them about the kinds of consumers,
Right.
what they like, the new trends, and it was a whole process until finally we realized, wait a minute, are we selling or are we actually teaching?
Yes.
So it got us in a little bit of a discussion
Yes.
at that
Well, you
point.
mentioned the market. No, who exactly is your market? I see that over 90% are women, right? Is this just because this is also what you were interested in, you being women? How did this come
Initially,
about?
no.
I think women naturally will think of the home, and so they will think of what to put on the table. And even if they're the upscale AB market, they would look at what the family eats. So that's why we have the eco market. We've got fresh, organic, natural vegetables. And then you have in the store cleaning products, chips for,
baby products.
kamote chips for the child's baon, all these things like
Baby products.
baby products too,
Body products.
insect
Gifts.
repellent spray.
Then they
Yes.
needed gifts.
But don't discount the fathers. They also come with a list from the
Yes.
wife. And they go, I need
Right.
this. But it's the women really who look at,
Decision,
yes, most of the purchase decisions globally actually, not just in the Philippines, are made by
True,
women.
for the home. That's true. They do take
The
care
women
of
hold the purse.
Yes.
And if you're thinking about the sustainable lifestyle, it's the women who will say what rice to eat, what sugar to use,
Yes.
what milk to buy, what cheese to get. So the women talk to us.
And then on the
Right.
other end of the
Naturally.
spectrum, on the ground, we realized most of our producers and suppliers
Are the
were
women.
women. So after 1 year, when we were trying to check our metrics, we both saw the consumers and we saw our producers, and the three of us, most were women. I would think like almost 90%. And it just became natural. It became a women's-led organization helping and supporting women.
Naturally, your advocacy is just veered
It
towards
just
that
happened.
area.
It just kind of flowed
But
that
not to
direction.
alienate the men.
Right,
We,
right.
we work with a lot of men also. But it just so happens that the women are the ones who have the time to produce, to
Yeah.
package, to do the details in the product. The men will plant.
Yes.
They will be the one to start the farms. But it's the women who harvest, to pick it up, who package it,
To sort.
to sort.
Right.
sort.
And the women will be the one who will, with love, I don't want to say pain
Yeah,
anymore.
with love.
With love, they do it, that they pick the ripest coffee
Right.
cherries, they
Right.
pick the ripest fruits. And then it might interest you to know that globally also, and I thought it was, unique to us. Hindi pala. globally, women bring back 70% of their income to the household. And this is why women in the communities will always find something to do in between hours. After taking the kid to school, they will come home and do something. Then they'll cook lunch. You know, women are multitaskers, you know that.
Yes.
So it's the women who find pockets of time
Yes.
that allow them to make all these crafts that now, where do they sell them? Or the food items, like we've got great
Bottled things, yeah.
crab paste that's very indulgent. And
Right.
they happen to be women also.
Yeah.
And that actually started our involvement with the Philippine Commission on Women and the Canadian International Development Authority to do the brand called Great Women, which Jeannie can
Yes,
talk
because
about.
that was what I was going to ask.
So
you were the president of
From that discussion of what to do between selling and development, we decided to put up a foundation so that it was very clear in the way we were going to move forward. And the foundation is what we call the Echostore Foundation. And the first major project, which we didn't expect to be as
And what does
major.
Echostore stand for?
Echostore means empowering communities with hope and opportunities through sustainable initiatives.
Okay.
So mouthful, but but there's also we realized when we got to the ground that there was a lot of stuff we needed to do.
Yes.
And it just so happened that our first major project that came in was this great program. And the GREAT means Gender Responsive Economic Action for the Transformation of Women. And they had been doing this for the past 4 years on the ground to help empower women in the electoral process.
So, for example,
political
could
process.
you give a case study? Of
Oh,
one
they
of
would
them?
do empowering workshops about how to be able to do correct voting, value systems. And then they realized to really empower women on the 5th year, when they had a very little budget, they said, oh, they need to have livelihood. And that's when they called us in.
Yes.
When we got in there, at a very short span of time on the ground, we realized that everybody who was trying to help the poor women and men too, the communities, were just working in silos. So government had their programs, they were consistent with it. You had other NGOs focused on
Ad
things.
hoc activities
Yes,
going on.
all different. And
Disorganized.
that's why we were saying, that's why it's not been working. So we decided to look at the gaps. And in these gaps, we started to tie in the multi-sectoral partnerships where you had government, local government, the NGOs in the ground, local retailers when needed, the designers, food tasters.
Right.
You know,
Imagine what we got ourselves
we got
into.
ourselves like this on the ground.
Victims of your own success.
Yeah, because we were just trying to solve a problem, actually.
Right.
What had happened then, I said, wait a minute, we're on the ground, we're fixing them, we're teaching everything from the product supply chain, the
Right.
full value chain.
Costing.
Costing, what the market is, why are you
Design,
creating this
packaging,
product,
yeah.
stop that, you know, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. And we realized, wait, we need something to carry it to the market, and it needed a brand. It could not be Echostore. For the simple reason, we had clear guidelines about it had to be green, and not everything with the women products were really all green, you
Yes.
know? It was a livelihood. So what we did
And
was...
we also didn't want to limit their market to
yes,
Echostore.
just it
Okay.
could not just be Echostore.
Like if, you know, Milky Way helped us, Chibo helped
So all your
us.
partners, you had a range of
Yeah.
partners.
All our
The
women
retailers,
friends and Jeannie's network, like, can you sell our vinegar? Can you sell our,
Yeah.
you know?
Tap paste,
So we didn't want to limit their exposure just to our
Yes,
store,
it would
like
not
to
be
be a
fair.
self-serving thing.
Yeah.
So the foundation
But
allows
the foundation
for greater
allows
participation.
partnerships with everybody.
So we had to make the
Yeah.
brand. So again, we talked to Rina. Rina, can you design a brand that's just great women?
Yes.
And this can be anywhere.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be just in our stores.
Because it's
Right.
really about livelihood. It's about giving them access to market. And we're not the only store that will limit their production. So it was really about opening a wider market for all these women.
So the
Yes.
program was really to test it from the ground, to see the gaps, to be able to make sure a product is leveled up and ready for market, then market test. And what had happened was after the program ended, we were now caught in, okay, we're going to have to move this forward. And the interesting thing is, because of the milestones that we've done, that was, I think, quite successful, government has now taken it on. So it's a Philippine gender platform.
Wonderful.
It is to
That's
be,
really
there are
important.
discussions for replication in APEC countries and in ASEAN countries, but at least it is the gender platform of the Philippines. So today, actually, one of our board members will be signing a MOA for all the women in Mindanao under the crisis zones.
Yeah.
And that will be part of this. And we've begun working with social entrepreneurs to get the level up. No? So that's one, women helping women all the way to the value chain internationally, because Chit and I also, and Rina, go out there on behalf of the food and the non-food
Right, you're
to
invited
open
to many
markets.
conferences.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
because they realized,
Yeah.
well, oh, can you round up like women producers? And we say yes.
Yes.
So Gina and I went to China.
Yeah,
Chongqing,
began in China.
And this is a global, again, mouthful. It's a global platform for
the
action.
sourcing.
For sourcing from women vendors.
Vendors.
Sabi namin, may ganun pala.
Yeah.
Women, hey, we're women vendors.
And we got in.
But it's a
Wonderful.
big program. It's actually
Yeah.
International Trade Center.
Yeah, it's a 10-year development program of the
Yes.
ITC.
WTO. Sabi namin, wow,
Wow.
ba na to?
So you're able to get grants for your different.
No,
Well, no.
coffee, they allow you, there are 6 products, but I'll concentrate on coffee, which
And
is
we-
where we, and
That's
textiles.
your
Textile.
So coffee and textiles, so Gina and I were there after China, they took us to Mexico. So Mexico, you know, and it's like taking you all over the world. And what are our stories? Our stories are our Sulu coffee,
Yes.
our textiles from Negros, from
Yeah.
Iloilo, and all that. And they want to hear the stories on a global level. So
The
parang-
Philippines is so rich in that.
We're so rich,
Yes.
yeah. And another thing I think is really not just we tell the story, but we open markets. We
Yes.
begin linkages, no? And like in China, in Chongqing, in the categories that we entered in, right? There would be a next step, right? And the interesting thing is, coffee, Chit has it already, so there was trade that happened. The challenge for our country, because I was carrying textile, I got back and I realized our textile industry is dead.
Who would have thought that? Because we have such
And
beautiful textiles.
I just realized moving in the past year, trying to come up with something so that internationally we can present something. It's starting from the ground again. So
Right.
it's wow. It's
But
a
she's
whole-
right there because she knows that if you're Ilonggo, you must make the patajong. If you're in Sulu, you must make the manobo, the blaan,
The stories.
She
The
knows
stories.
the cultural part, which Rina and I like, Jeannie, what's that, you know?
But the problem again is they know their culture, which has always been the issue. They know their culture. They're weaving wonderful blaan. They're embroidering with the bagobos. They don't know how to cost. They
Right.
don't know how
Goes
to
back to
package.
business.
So
they
they
don't
give
know
us-
what to do.
they haven't been educated,
Oh,
so-
gosh.
They give us these
Yeah.
ceiling prices. They look up the
And then
ceiling prices.
ceiling.
This is 350. No. Let's start
They
again.
don't have
okay.
a framework.
They
Yes.
don't
This
have.
is what you give them.
Yes.
So we're
Yes.
telling them, are we really teaching them costing?
Yeah.
You know, so we tell them you have to pay yourself. You have to pay, for
Pay
the
your
gas,
horse.
You know.
Yes.
That was getting the natural material.
So this is when you also have something called echo talk. This is what you do.
well,
you
we
share.
do this all the time. We talk all the time.
That's true.
That's true.
Bring it
Yeah.
out to communities and
Well,
to
we
share
do
your
get
knowledge.
we do
with
get
other people.
invited for social enterprise.
Yes.
Like Rina's now a talker also. She talks
Now
about
a
I'm the
talker.
last
sustainability through food and
Yes.
menus.
Yes.
Like we were in Coron, Palawan, where they're trying to make it as pristine as possible,
Yeah.
but giving sustainable livelihood to the farmers, etc., and making their restaurants comply
Right.
with like green initiatives.
Yes.
It's a 150 slide talk that Rina is an
There's
expert
so much
on.
to say because we were talking to resort owners, to hotel owners in Coron, in the whole Coron area, Busuanga. And it was something like we're teaching them, you know, it doesn't have to take so much for you to turn green. You can change some things in your hotel and it's
Right.
already complying. Do it in baby steps.
Yes.
Because, you know, it's like if you change everything, it's really going to like, you have to rebuild your hotel.
All these
So
invitations for
yeah.
talks and also the programs you do allow us to know, in some way, institutionalize what we're doing. We have now presentations that we can pick up anytime. We actually have clear data and milestones
Yes.
as we move through the
'Cause
program.
people often ask
and it's
us-
organized, na?
Yeah,
Yes.
how many people have you touched? How
Social
many-
impact,
So we
yeah.
always like Ecosi always has the numbers, like how many households, how many women,
Yeah.
how many products. Rina has how many
Sales.
suppliers do we
The
have on the
sales that
store
come from
side.
it, yeah.
And so all of us get approached for, can you talk in this place? And I think part of our mission
Yeah.
is really to share all this experience and knowledge that we've
Right.
acquired all over.
Well, what are your indicators for success? Since you work with so many communities, I'm sure sometimes it's like an experiment. You have to choose which is working, which is
Yeah.
not. What would you say makes a community and a project successful?
Well, we do ask the community, like, are you ready? Are you ready to, like Jeannie always says, level up? Because if they're doing it because they got a grant from government or an NGO, and after that grant is done, they won't do it anymore, then we go to the next community. We want a community that really needs the information to be able to level up and go out there to market.
Yes.
If they're not ready to do that, I mean, of all, we probably chose from, let's say,
Like
4,000 products began with 4,000, and we actually ended up with only 30. But from those groups, you've managed to change mindsets for some of them to want to become entrepreneurs, businesswomen, and leaders.
Right.
And we have a wonderful example in our peanut lady. We call her the peanut lady from Iloilo. Is that now she's actually looking at her whole supply chain, talking to local government, doing the selling, and we have agreed with these women like this, no, including the one in Bagobo with our textiles. She's managed her whole community, correct timings, pricing, you know. So they've actually leveled up as leaders, as businesswomen also. And I think those are key metrics because they can move on by themselves with or without Echostore and
what
Ecosi Foundation.
They can stand on their
Yes.
own.
Yes.
The first metrics, when we said, oh my God, we have to make a report, was when we won in the Business and Development
Yes.
Challenge
Our
Yes.
first
in
year.
Netherlands. And the three of us went to Rotterdam. You
After 4 months
know,
of being
Echo was
the
not
store
even
owner.
6 months.
Yeah.
Wow.
And after 6 months, they ask you, okay, please fill this up. And I'm like, Jeannie, how many people have, what do we say? From that time on, 6 months into the business, we learned to keep all this
Yes.
data. So now,
So they always ask me end of the year, can you make a social
Yes.
impact
report.
report?
So you've put together
I
your own
put-
statistics,
yeah.
yes.
And
How many
reason-
women,
you
how many
need this,
suppliers.
yes.
And
yeah.
reasons like why we can bring in an international grant into a major program for the country is because we've institutionalized all our forms, our checklists, how we do our lectures and all, that now it could be shared with many other people and other groups who can do it, not just us.
Right.
So I think we're like there put to start,
yes.
create it, solidify that, and it can now be shared.
Right.
Whether it's a product, whether it's a program, it's a service.
But I think
Yeah.
on the commercial side, because we haven't talked about the store really, on the commercial side, the impact would be like, have we grown? Have we
Yes.
grown organically?
Yes.
I mean, pun intended, okay? Well, we're now like 3 stores. That's almost 6 years later.
Yeah.
3 going on 5. We have an
have an
online
online
store, you know. So I think impact-wise, these licensees of ours would not do any business if we were not doing any impact also.
We also have
Right.
international representation.
We'll
now.
talk more about that. Sorry, I have to
Yeah.
stop you there because we have so much more to talk
Yeah.
about. We just need to take this really short break. And when we return, we will know more about Echostore and how they help empower women and the communities. Please stay tuned. You're still watching News Cafe on the Solar News Channel, and we have with us Chitwan, Jeannie Havelosa, and Rina Francisco, owners of Echostore. Okay, ladies, we've heard so much about your stories, but now I'd like to ask about each of your passions and advocacies that have contributed to what you're doing at Echostore now. Chit, you started with a love for coffee. You always talked about
Well,
that.
I still love coffee, and it's actually coffee that has taken me and my partners around the country and around the world.
Yes.
You know, like we've been invited even to as far as Uganda, East Africa, and a lot of other places, also because of our involvement in coffee. So I think it's something I will never leave until I croak. And coffee has introduced us to a very big network of loving not just coffee itself, but the culture and the history behind it.
Right.
You know, like I remember when Jean and I were in Bacolod, and you know, Jean is a coffee drinker too, but you see coffee in a different light when you get to talk to the farmers, and then you get to know all the mountains, and you get to know all these far-flung areas that have never been reached by coffee buyers.
Right.
And then you are in better appreciation of the product.
You started a national campaign to save the Barako coffee bean.
That's
no?
right.
So you put coffee on the national agenda.
Thank you.
Why do you
And-
think that was so important to do that?
Well, I think it's a matter of communicating to the people, because people just drink coffee like it was nothing. But if you tell them how it goes from bean to brew, then they have a better appreciation of what happens in the whole, what we call a value chain.
Yes.
And so after the Barako, we looked at, hey, we've got other coffees. Like we've got great Arabica. So Rina also is a part-time roaster in coffee. So we can sample roast coffees. You can actually taste, what this farmer did, what that farmer did. And I tell her, even if she didn't come to the mountains, I'll tell her, this is the altitude, this is the process, this is the moisture. She'll roast it and she'll say, okay, tell
How
me.
it affects the taste.
Yeah.
And she can tell me technically how it affects the taste. And so we bring that back to the farmer, almost like making them taste their coffee, because they never do that. They
That's
never
true.
taste their
They
coffee.
work on this, but they don't even know the.
They don't. They just know.
They can't
okay.
appreciate
So they can't appreciate it. So when they taste their coffee, pabalik, then they now know, kaya pala. So we're doing like cupping sessions. So we're doing, we're even bringing a Filipina expert from the States who's part of our group, International Women's Coffee Alliance. You'll hear all these groups and acronyms and all that, but it's all part of the passion, the advocacy, and the business all together.
Yeah.
And this is what we have for breakfast every day.
That's true, and we're becoming such a big coffee culture in the Philippines, but
Yes.
we're not even conscious, it's true, of where it's coming from, the love involved in making it.
That's right.
And you, Rina, you came from the hotel and restaurant business.
Yeah.
But you're also an artist.
I always call that my past life.
Oh.
I guess because also of my involvement in operations, I take care of a lot of details, from manpower to research and development and creative. So I've stuck with that. And I'm also a graduate of graphic design. So I put that all together and I'm applying it just in a new business, but nothing has changed. The fundamentals are the same. So I basically take care of operations in the store, packaging and labeling, which is my love. So Jeannie always takes me along to critic sessions with communities. And the food, since I always develop, here are the products we're bringing in, do something with it so people can taste it. So I'm in charge also of the menu in the store, in Eco Cafe. So what happens here is I create products, people can taste, and if you like it, you can buy it in the store. So it's, it's a win-win.
She even shares the recipes.
Yeah.
Very
Shares
generous,
it.
yeah. 'cause
So
you would
people
think
can, people want to repeat it in the house, to duplicate it, so they know what materials to buy. So in the process, because
slow
of the
food.
food, we had an opportunity to join Slow Food, to be
Yes.
members. So we went there 2 years ago, and we're going together as a trio this year. And it's really about, it's not something new. Our parents did it a long time ago, and it's really about, eating safe, clean, and healthy food.
Yes.
Knowing who produces your food, what goes into your food, how was it produced. So it's really about sharing with our customers slow food movement. So we're looking for grains, like Jeannie was telling you earlier, looking for all these heirloom seeds, plants that we can rice, like a mountain province rice, the different herbs and fruits that we don't even see anymore,
This
because
is
we
their
keep,
locavorism.
yeah,
That's what you call it, right?
locavorism. It's
Yes.
really about, where our food coming from. It's about food miles. We have so much food here in the Philippines, but people can't, they want to buy apples and pears and oranges. Nothing wrong with that occasionally, but eat what's in season.
Yeah, and
what's
also the
local.
carbon footprint of having to get that
Exactly.
from
No, and
other
the threat.
countries.
The threat actually is if you stop eating something, the farmers will stop producing
Yeah.
it. So if you stop looking for macopa and chico and the kamachile and ratilis, you will not see, your children, your grandchildren will not see those fruits anymore. What they will see is pongkan, Fuji apple, and all these new fruits. Like this morning, I ate a papaya and I said, oh my God, there are seeds.
Yeah.
Do you realize that most papayas now, when you open it, they have no seeds anymore?
Really?
And these are the hybrids, and slow food really wants you to look for the things that have seeds, because
Yes.
that's a continuation of life.
We don't want to kill off our own produce.
Yes,
Correct.
exactly.
Yeah. All right, Jeannie, you are the yogini in the group. You
Well,
also, apart from being an artist.
Yeah, I'm actually the multitasker lost sometimes, so much. So I think if you want to go back, it's like an artist, and I've always spoken on behalf of culture. I used to sell culture outside on the ASEAN level and international level. So it was but natural that when Echostore came in, I just fell into how can we bring in culture in everything that we're doing, from the development all to the actual product that you sell, and telling them how to use and enjoy the product. So when you look at it, culture is everything.
Yes.
It's not just how we sing, it's everything
We're
we
immersed
are.
in it, yes.
How we live, how we talk, how we eat, how we plan.
That's true.
And so when you look at an example of a product, like for example, the idea of slow food, those seeds are planted specific ways by our farmers. Like the Tinawan rice of the Ifugaos are slowly getting extinct. But they don't see the beauty behind all that, that our rice terraces were planted way before even the engineering process and water processes were
Yes.
even known in the world, and it was all done without slave labor. And this rice is what feeds a community, and is planted and harvested once a year. And there's a cycle which our ancestors followed through time. So if they don't see this, how can they bring value? In an international global world that is the same everywhere, the only distinct thing that will bring you out there is our culture. The same with our textiles. If you do not tell our people how to use it and the beauty of something that could be used like this,
Yes, you have
it's
a beautiful-
piña, natural fiber, or those woven by our indigenous peoples that have a story that tell about the pride of our race. How can we love our culture? We won't be able to. So we need to bring that in. And how you cook it, the slow food process, how we package it. Our packaging is slowly developing into something like bringing in cultural education that talks
Yes.
about our culture. So when you go out there, the unique thing that we need to, as Filipinos, whether you be a second, third generation Filipino abroad, what links us together as a people is what we are about,
Right.
how we live, how we enjoy our products. And that's, I think, the main input here
Yeah.
that I bring to the store.
Right.
Aside from the fact that I think the three of us, one of the passions I think that I'd like to share is I think we learn from each other. Well, anyway, for myself, I've grown to love coffee more than just the addiction before, which was a cup.
The caffeine fix.
The caffeine
Yes,
fix.
yes.
It's really being
It's the
extended.
appreciation
it.
for-
I've grown to love even more the idea of how the business is done because of the three of us. I really am not the businesswoman. I have learned to become one. And I think that's the beauty I feel with the partnership. No? And I think that's also one of my passions.
Yeah.
Is that I'm constantly learning. And I just found out I had to learn again something new. She's pushing me for coffee 404. I just finished 102.
This is the coffee guru. This is the beauty of your relationship.
Yeah.
All of
Yes.
you, kind of contribute to each other's
Yes.
passions. You
It's-
feed off each
it's
other's
really a journey for all
hunger.
of
Oh,
us.
and yoga, I have to say that.
Yeah, she's our teacher.
You have Echo Yoga. Tell
Echo
us about
yoga
Echo
is part of that. It's a whole, Chit says she wants a farm. I said, I want a yoga studio. So let's stretch that, right? You want to move it into the spirit from the earth. So we have Echo Yoga. We have a new studio behind Rockwell on Calayan Avenue. And I think that encompasses all the internal self part.
Yes.
The wellness that you have, the meditations, the practice for the physical body. Only when I think that you're nicely steady, centered, and strong, can you then share
Right.
with
You have to
everybody.
love yourself, take care of
Love
yourself
yourself
first.
for
Take care of the world.
Yes.
Well, Chit, if I may ask, you were also head of the Philippine Coffee Board and very much involved in many of the corporate foundations. What was it like being a woman in what they generally say is a man's world?
Well, you have to speak up. Coffee generally is a male-dominated industry.
Yes.
But then now there are programs, and I'm not saying just for the Philippines. Like we have a group called the International Women's Coffee Alliance, and they're like, "Are you feminist?" No, it's a group. It's a group that gathers globally women coffee producers and women coffee consumers. Like for example, in the United States, we have a lot of importers of coffee who are women-led, women-led
Yes.
organizations. And then we have a lot of women coffee producers, in Africa, for example. I don't want to generalize, but some of the videos we've seen is that the women do all the work, and then the men say, "Oh, mabigat yata yan. Let's take it to the trader." But the money never gets to the wife. Here in the Philippines, of course, women are more emboldened, like, "No, you return that money to me or
Yeah.
else," right? I think globally, if you look at the organizations and the movements, we're just in step, no? In coffee, I'm sure there's movements in cacao, in textiles. And so with this group, the International Women's Coffee Alliance, we're able to get together with other women leaders in coffee. So we can share experiences and really move women producers
Right.
to get to not just local markets, but out into the world.
And what have you seen working with all these different communities and even your exposure to other case studies, other countries in the world? How is the Philippines changing? And how has it changed maybe from day one of when you first got out into the communities? Have
Well,
women
for me,
become
of course, they will
stronger?
have their answers as well. But for me, I've seen that, there are a lot of women leaders, like Jeannie was talking about, there are women leaders, but they need to connect, to a movement, to connect to an initiative, where not just government, but academia and all the sectors like APEC and ASEAN, they have all these what you call stages or platforms where all our women leaders in the communities can go up. In fact, in slow food, it's so interesting. They bring the farmer. The farmer who hasn't traveled before in her life is out there.
Sponsored.
They're
To go all the way
sponsored
there.
to go to Italy to show that I've got heirloom rice from Mountain Province, Philippines.
Wow.
And this girl says, oh, I've got mountain rice from Africa. Hey, we're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And for them, it's like opening the world, like I shouldn't be stuck to just my community.
It's, I think, also how we brought our Bagobo weavers and our very poor women producers to Manila to face the media.
Yes.
That's
And
just-
they
How was that?
you know,
Mindanao
and-
to Manila.
and Mindanao to Manila, and their world changed, and their whole way of looking at their own livelihood and life changed. I think it's about empowerment, and I think part of our role is just that. We're a network which allows us to link to many, and anybody who comes with us, we just actually help get
You're
them
giving
where
them
they
a chance,
are. We
basically,
give them
a
a
platform
chance.
to-
We need to change the face of the Filipino abroad, right? Internationally, it's always been so negative. We're either just domestic helpers, but we have wonderful Filipina leaders. And in the region, I think that the Filipina is by herself already a statement of strength. We need to create those networks so that we all link together to further that strength, so that we can, get out there and let them
Right.
see how good we really are.
Well, that's something very good to think about now as we take this short break. For now, we will take a very quick break, and later we will know more about the Echo Trio. Keep it here on the Solar News Channel. Welcome back to News Cafe on the Solar News Channel with Chituan, Jeannie Javelosa, and Rina Francisco of Echostore. I'm overwhelmed with so much inspiration and power in this room. I'd like to
There's
ask
so much to say.
Yeah, we just don't have enough time. Now, what motivates each of you? What you're doing is really very excellent for nation building through Echostore. What motivates you, Chit, to do what you're doing?
Well, every day you don't know what's coming in the emails. People give us, people call us, and one is it's from top to bottom. I mean, from bottom up. We get requests from communities for some, women power talk or costing
Also
or whatever.
international, Chit.
Then internationally, they look like, who's this social enterprise? So what motivates us? I think we're doing something good.
Definitely, most definitely.
Because people just call us and say, how can we do this? How can we
it's
help?
growing.
And it's growing. So what motivates us is the business itself is actually turning out to be our advocacy, but our business, it's really our sustainable lifestyle.
Right.
So the business itself is our motivation that we are getting all these people inspired to do what they can do because they see that we're doing it without any thinking of this will get us an IPO or something like that, But we're just doing our way because we're enjoying
You
it.
enjoy, yeah.
Yes.
And this is a great, as you said, you formed this to think of something for retirement. Something to do as you get older, aging
Yes.
gracefully is something
Exactly.
you love. Now, if I can ask you, that the Philippines is so much into food, all of these new trends. How do you keep up with the market? I mean, with Echo Cafe.
Yeah. Well, I've always been delegated, or I've always loved operations. So part of my whole thing is really to search out what are the new trends, what are the new things in food, in restaurants, in in retailing. And because of all this, because of slow food movement that we've joined, and also with all the requests from our customers, do you have gluten-free? Do you have vegan? Do you have this? Do you have that? It's also a learning process for all of us. We always learn all these new terms, we research it, and they know me. I like to research. What's that? And when I get interested in it, I go into it wholeheartedly. So now the new thing is gluten-free. It's not that people want to be gluten-free. It's just that there are more diseases that are connected
Yes.
to gluten intolerance that
Right.
that are affecting people now, children with autism, celiac disease, gluten
Yes.
intolerance. So we want to be able to share with people things that we learn in the process. Because as we learn, we want to share it with people.
Yeah.
And so we try to keep abreast with everything that's out there. So for me, that's what motivates me. When I learn something new, it's really about sharing. Because sometimes we think, we have nothing to share, even with the communities. But what we say is like gospel to them when you're not exposed to anything but, your little world there. So what we say is actually like a big wow for them. So for us, it's really about inspiring people with the little we know is actually something big for them. And it always amazes us what we share.
Yeah. Well, Jeannie, you are the culture creator. Now, what Echostore is doing is also, you always talk about cultural education through all your goods.
But I think at the very core of what motivates me, when I think about it, it's really changing consciousness to help our world become a better place, to help ourselves become better people. And the store is just a vehicle, right? Your yoga studio, your store, your cafe, your venue where you speak, where you write, we write, or we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're everywhere, I think, where we can try to reach. It's about changing the consciousness in that if we are asleep, our world will just slowly disintegrate. We will just get sicker and sicker. We will fight each other. But at the end, we have a purpose why we're alive. And we need to change that consciousness every morning in everything I do. And it first begins with me, right? It's like I wake up and how do you shift a perspective? If it's a design, can we change the copy?
Yes.
If we talk correctly, can we change what we're saying? If we write, what are we writing about? The world is too noisy, it's dirty, and it's messy. How can we bring this peace? By just being ourselves. And that's why we have yoga, and we have the farm, and we have the stores, and we have our talks, and we have our Facebook, and our social media, and our everything we try to do. Because for everywhere we go, either as inspiration in the food, in our teaching. It's about changing consciousness to see something from a deeper, a higher perspective that will allow others to say, I want that too. And it's not that hard. It's not that hard.
I think this is what's very special about what you're doing through Echostore and all your other activities. It's shaping the story of the Filipino, no? I mean, of course, you are strengthening Pinoy pride. Like with all you've done, even with coffee, you've always talked about the Pinoy product.
And now, Pinoy pride plus women empowerment.
Right.
The best way to empower women is really to empower them financially. And empowering them financially demands that they know what they're doing with their craft. Okay? And aside from that, go ahead, Jean.
Sorry, I think the Pinoy pride angle comes in the kinds of products that are presented to the world. The first thing they will see is a gift from you. And then your relational with how you are, no? So people like government groups and secretaries and different institutions buy gifts from us because these gifts have the story using natural textile. We painstakingly, I mean, Rina really designs the cards, we tell the story. And then that gift is like something from the Philippines, from the heart of our culture, given to somebody out there who might never have come to the Philippines.
Correct.
And by that product, Pinoy pride is expressed, right?
Well said, very well said.
So I think that's
And since it's Women's Month, may I insert that, of course, we want to change the face of the Filipina globally.
Yes.
Because what has happened, I don't want to say this is just ganito.
There's
just
a stereotype.
But there are, we fall into this stereotype. And then when they talk to us, like, how come you can speak English? Hello.
Exactly.
They're like, how come you're so empowered? You're doing this? I said, but you should meet the rest of the guys back home.
There are almost 100 million of us.
This shows you that there's really a lack or there's a dearth of Filipinos who go out there. And that's why Jeannie founded the Business and Professional Women chapter. I founded the IWCA. So all of us are in different groups. Rina is in these sustainable initiatives, So we're out there to talk to the world like, hey, listen to us. These are the Filipinos. Hindi lang kami pang beauty contest.
But you know what also, Mitzi, it surprises us too, no? I think, Chit just came from the UN, and when I think of myself at The Hague, talking at Rio Plus, I said, wow, when you are talking in front of these international crowds on behalf of being a woman Filipina and on behalf of being part of your country that is very small the moment you're out there, it kind of also gets you, wow, we're really being used,
So use us.
You use us, okay.
You were all at the Global Women Summit in Greece, wasn't it?
Yes.
The three of you went
Yes.
together. What is it like, well, they say now that our economy is going up, but when you live here, you don't really feel it. So how do you feel in terms of when you're out there? What is it like for you representing the Filipinas, you know? I mean,
Well, fortunately, you know, we get to speak in panels in
Yeah.
these summits, and we're actually Women's Business Council of the Philippines is actually the international partner of Global Summit of Women.
Yes.
And we go out there and talk about, you know, the Filipina, what we can do, what products we have, and we're not just about handicrafts. We've got IT, we've got, you know,
Yes. Yeah.
we're #1 in voice.
Very competitive.
I mean, all these statistics, like, they go like, really? Where's the Philippines again? I'm glad. I'm glad. Now with this Malaysian airline thing, like, you see the Philippine map every day on TV.
so people are becoming educated, huh?
People never knew where we were. They're like,
Where are
where?
those little
The
islands?
Philippines has been the 5th in the latest study of the gender gap, and that's pretty good. And because in the whole of Asia,
Yes.
we are actually the only country that's there. So there must be something about our Filipina because we've actually placed that gap there.
Right.
From a perspective of how do we position our country, I think the Filipino women should be used seriously as part of development in the economy from the rural area all the way to leadership and diplomacy. So that is a role that in the Business and Professional Women's Network takes in the professional women to support the direction of how do we bring women up that whole value chain of leadership, both economic and also as leaders in all their different fields.
Yeah.
So the gender gap is interesting, although there have been a lot of discussions about it back and forth. But the fact that we've gotten ourselves there,
we're on
and
the
I
high
think
scores.
the Great
Yeah.
Women platform, which is a country platform now, to be replicated in APEC, will position the
Yes.
Filipina also.
Yeah.
So we're very happy to be part
Yeah.
of it.
Well, the Philippines has been listed as one of the best places for women in a global survey.
Right.
You know,
That's
in
correct.
terms of
Correct.
freedom.
Correct.
You've done so much already for women in the community, but what are you looking at, whether it's with Echostore or the rest of your personal initiatives? What are you hoping to still pursue or
Well,
accomplish?
the Philippines will be hosting the APEC summit in 2015, so we are tasked.
We are in the steering committee.
So we are
Perfect
tasked,
candidates.
we are tasked to gather all these issues
Yeah.
and at least have a great APEC Women and Economy Summit, because there's a Women and Economy Summit as a run-up to the ministerial.
Okay.
So believe it or not, our little Echostore brought us to all these places, and Gina and I are in the steering committee to formulate all the policies, etc., and all the activities that all these leaders, women leaders from 21 economies are going to be here next year.
That's coming in.
Yeah.
Chit talks about the coming in. I'll speak about the going out. We have ASEAN integration happening. It's
right.
already there in 2015. I think that the role we want to speak on behalf of women is that the whole 600 million customers that ASEAN can give are ours for the taking if we level up. At least part.
Great
Doesn't have to be
opportunity
all,
for-
right?
Yeah, so Rina
It's really
will,
about
So
preparing.
Rina will
Rina
get-
has to agree to our exports
because
already.
we're slowly moving to the export part of it for Echostore, and we
But
want.
she tells us we stress her. But
Yeah.
then I guess, by the way, we have a store.
I love this dynamic. So we're
It's really
seeing
a
how we work
push-pull
together.
from
Yes.
all directions constantly, and I think that's the beauty of the dynamics and the learning process, and constantly respect to be able to see well, yeah, she has a point, so let's listen. Oh no, maybe this one has a point. And the push-pull is what creates both our advocacy and our store to have some meaning,
Right.
not just for us.
Yeah.
Really, it's not
Deeper
just
meaning for
of course, we
your
totally enjoy this.
consumer,
We
yeah.
totally enjoy it, but
market.
it's not just for us, really. That's my take on
Yeah.
this anyway, no?
Yeah.
And so Chit talks about APEC for our country to host. I'll speak about the ASEAN integration for our Filipina to go out there in the region. We have so much to learn, and I think together with networks, we will be capable of doing it.
Yeah, wonderful. I just read this book recently, it's Sheryl Sandberg's Lean In, and it seems women need to lean in more. This is
Ours
what you're
is
doing.
called Women Stepping Up.
That's a good stepping
Because
up.
if you
I like
lean
that.
in, you don't change.
That's
you
true,
don't
you're
change
just
the
lean-
system.
That's a good one. So
The
level
step up,
Yeah.
you get yourself out of a system into somewhere new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, finally, what are the secrets to your success? I mean, especially for what tips would you give women, especially? Sometimes it's tough to make it in your fields. For each of you, I'd like to ask, what would you say is the secret to making it?
I think the secret is really loving what you do. I mean, it might sound cheesy or cliche-ish, but if you don't like what you're doing, get out and look for something. Look for something you really enjoy. And if you reflect, well, Jeannie has taught us that, how to reflect in yoga,
Go
you know,
inward.
and look inward.
Internalize.
You know, there's a reason why you're here, you know, and you have to find that reason, and that keeps you going.
Yes. Rina.
Me, what really, it's learning something new always. I don't want to be static, so we always try to look for something new to learn. And as we learn to share it with others. So Echostore is really a gift. It was a gift to us 5 years ago. And what happens is, it's asked for us to share to the world what we know, what we discover, our journey. So this whole, next phase of our life is really about learning and sharing. And like our store says, Echo, it's really about echoing the movement, sharing with
Yes.
everybody.
Yeah.
Will be replicated. Jeannie.
The core is about knowing yourself. Because when you know yourself inside, then your foundation is so steady. When you know that your weakness is this, you work it, and that's where the partnerships help come together. So at the end, that's the knowing yourself strengthens what we do.
Yes.
Right? Because if you don't know yourself, where are you going to
True.
go? So you know yourself, be steady, and then you do. So it's an inner change and an outer action. And that is represented by everything we do at Echostore, which is our lifestyle.
Right. That's right. And you are the epitome of all of everything, you walk the talk. So thank you very much for all you do. Congratulations on the success of Echostore.
you.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll have you back here again after all your accomplishments with the upcoming
Please.
activities.
Yes, thank you.
Well, that's all the time we have for tonight. I'd like to thank our guests, Chitwan, Jeannie Javelosa, and Rina Francisco of Echostore for being with us tonight. Thank you. And if you have any comments on News Cafe, please do share them on Facebook and Twitter pages. Join us again next Thursday for another round of discussions here on News Cafe. I'm Mitzi Borromeo. Good night.